Good afternoon, and welcome to Everybody, the podcast which shares stories that highlight people in life that make the world an interesting place, which ultimately ties us all together in unique and wonderful ways. And who am I, you might ask? I would be the head wrap socialite, wife, mom, micro influencer in the fashion and etiquette world. But on this podcast, I will be introducing you to some people who I've had the opportunity to meet along my journey, who have helped enrich me in my life in beautiful ways, and who I hope will do the same in yours.
Another thing that I do is sometimes just to keep myself balanced, jewelry helps me maintain me.
Good afternoon. Today, I have an incredibly talented guest joining me, whom I first met when I modeled for her company's Women's Empowerment Jewelry campaign. Rashonda C. Scott has been on an extraordinary journey in the world of jewelry design, starting her passion when she was just 13 years old in Wichita, Kansas. After relocating to Chicago in 2019, she founded Pieces of Kandakes, a brand with a mission to empower women globally through jewelry. Her beautiful designs have graced the runways of both New York Fashion Week and Fashion Week Minnesota. Please join me in welcoming the wonderfully talented Rashonda C. Scott to today's episode. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me. That was such a beautiful introduction.
Rashonda, can you tell the listeners a little bit about who you are?
Yes. So I feel like she really hit like my most recent things, but I started this business to empower women through jewelry. And in doing so, I had to start myself, as a brand new business in 2019. And, it wasn't as easy to find models as it is today. So I had to be my own model. However, I just had 4 children. I was experiencing postpartum depression and I was terrified to be behind a camera. Like I was really good on the opposite end of the camera. So my brother, he became a photographer and, he's like, I can help you with this. And so we began to take pictures of me modeling my jewelry. And that just sparked a whole thing for me. I was like, oh, so I can find more ways to empower women through jewelry than them just purchasing my jewelry. I could find women that are going through something similar that I'm going through. And it may not be postpartum depression. Maybe it's rapid weight loss or rapid weight gain. Maybe they are grieving and they finally have hit a point in their process where they're like, okay, I understand. I'm at the last stage of grieving and they need some way to celebrate the new them. That's where I started the Women Empowerment Project. Started with just 4 girls. And this year I was blessed enough to have 16 girls do this campaign. And all of the beautiful ladies, warriors, overcame many things and they were all able to be a part of our commercial ads that are on YouTube and all of our social media platforms as well. And I'm just honored that God chose me to be a facilitator for all of these women's better selves.
For sure. When did you first recognize that you had this calling deep within yourself?
You know what? I knew that I was chosen to empower women at a very young age. I was always that friend, even as a teenager. A teenager, it's kind of like you're exploring everything possible. I was always the voice of reason for my friends. And I was always the one that empowered my friends to, just be their best selves, whether that means like, let's make a good decision or you really are beautiful. Just those little subtle things. I think a lot of times people forget that those little subtle things make a huge impact for someone. Your words are very powerful.
For sure. As you speak of words, I am reminded of this quote by Amanda Gorman, and you fit this quote perfectly. She goes on to say, hear me as a woman, have me as your sister on purple battlefield breaking day. So I might say our victory is just beginning. See me as change. Say I am movement, that I am the year and I am the era of the woman. When you say that you recognize this at a young age to uplift other women who were in your circle so that they could recognize the power that is deep within them. I feel that power. So thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. For me, it just is very natural. And I've always been this way. So to see that now, it's like every woman, we're all waking up and realizing that we
Mm,
need each other. We need to speak life into each other. We need
yeah.
to help each other recognize our powers. We need to help each other stand in our powers and adjust each other's crown without telling the whole world that we did so.
Amen.
Um, and so I'm just like loving this season of just womanhood that is just happening across the globe. We're all just standing with one another.
That is so beautiful. And as we traverse this interview, I would like to take it back. I'm going to ask you about your journey and having the passion for jewelry. What inspired you to start creating jewelry at just 13 years old?
So I was always that child that had on way too much jewelry. I look like the Claire store just exploded on me. And I have pictures to back it up.
Okay, Rashonda, for those who don't know, tell the listeners what a Claire store is.
So Claire's was, I guess, when you're like coming into your teenage years,
Uh-huh.
Claire was the store you got all of your accessories from. Like they
Okay.
had like these little black baskets that were cloth, and you would just fill them up and hope your mom is going to buy everything in there.
It's like a teenager's dream.
Yes, it was like the Walmart of accessories.
Right,
Like
right.
any type of accessory you could think of, you could dream of, it was in that store. And they had sales frequently. So I would have my mom like, Mom, there's a sale. Cause they, back then when there were sales, you would get mailed ads. There wasn't
Right,
any email wasn't that big of a thing yet. You would
right.
get mailed ads like on your birthday and when the Black Friday sales come, and I would get it and I'd be all excited, like, Mom, it's a sale. And, we would go and I would be like, Prince, you got everything in the basket. And then I just remembered, like, you know what? I think this is probably something I could make. Let me try it. And then that's when it started. And then I got into teenage years, got into sports, got into all these things, got into debate. I got into this youth group called Hope Street Youth Development.
Mm,
And this group actually really helped me step into my power because
mm,
at the time, I don't feel like, and it could be just me, I don't feel like in the Black community,
mhm,
people take art serious.
mm,
They don't
mhm,
take it serious. And so I didn't take it serious. And so I went to this youth group and they taught us how to think by ourselves. They taught us how to speak for ourselves. And they taught us how to act for our community. And I feel like God paused my journey of jewelry
mm.
making so that I could do those things because I wasn't supposed to just make jewelry. I was supposed to empower women that are wearing my jewelry.
Right.
And so with that youth group, they taught us so much. And it was a true blessing for my mom. My mom was a single mother for a
Mm,
while. And it was a true blessing because my mom had a safe place to take us. But they taught us everything, anything that we could think of, they
mhm,
would facilitate it for us. And I remember when Barack Obama was
mm,
at the caucus, they were choosing between him and Hillary, who was going to be it for the Democratic Party. And me and
mhm.
my peers, we had raised money for a bus. We had learned how to write grants. They taught us how to write grants, which I was like, now I'm an adult. I'm like, whoo, thank you.
Yep, yep.
But they taught us how to write grants and we wrote up a grant and we got the grant. We ended up getting a tour bus and we
Mm,
took us and obviously some adults to oversee us to that caucus. We were 2 rows away from Barack Obama. Just that group alone helps me develop into who I am today. Then fast forward, I became a mom, I became an adult, life started happening. I was in nursing at the time. And
mm,
I love doing things with my heart. I like to do work that requires me to be passionate because that's who I am. I'm a very passionate person.
right,
And I was in nursing and I just was like, I can't do this. Like I'm working with my heart, but I feel so empty because I'm just
right.
giving, giving, giving. And there's just like not enough to replenish. And I wrote a list actually. I wrote a list of 100 things that I'm interested in, 100 things that I'm good at. And jewelry obviously was at the top of that list.
Right.
And
Mhm.
I was like, okay, well, let's figure out how to do this. So I started making jewelry for my friends. I didn't expect it to turn into a business. Again, I'm just running completely on passion.
Right.
And it just slowly turned into a business. And I remember one of my friends, he actually makes graphic designs for Kanye West. I said, hey, I think this thing is turning into a business. And I said, can you help me with a logo? And so he did, and he sent me this survey. And I'll never forget. I was like, oh my God, this is such a long survey. I haven't even thought about these things at all for a business. I don't know what my target audience is. I guess my peers, my friends, my
Mm-hmm.
mom. It was all these questions. And, he withheld my logo. He withheld my logo. He was like,
Wow.
I had paid him. And I was like, why aren't you giving me my logo? I've already paid you and all this stuff.
Yeah.
And lo and behold, the survey was my business plan. He tricked me.
Wow. Wow. That's a good friend.
Right? So he tricked me. And then on, I was like, okay, like I have to start moving more intentional. It just can't be just jewelry and that's it.
Mhm.
So I started thinking of more ways that I can incorporate who I am into this jewelry business. And I was like, oh my gosh, I definitely feel like a superwoman when I put my necklace on, my earrings and my bangles. So
Yep.
maybe I can find some ways to empower women through what I'm
Mm.
doing. And that's where it began.
That's an amazing story. Again, we should all have a friend like that in our lives. As you started to think of your business and you had your business plan down, where did the name come from? And where can we find these items to purchase?
Yes. So the name of my brand is Pieces of Kandakes. So I
Hmm.
actually got the name from the Kandake warriors. These warriors would probably be in like Sudan. Their temples are still there.
Okay.
I'm dying to go see them. And I'm
Hmm.
probably going to see them in a couple of years, but their temples are still there. You always hear like stories about like powerful women in history, like Cleopatra
Hmm.
and Mark Antony and their relationship and how they did everything. Well, these women ran the entire empire. Like it
Wow.
was completely women led.
Hmm.
And in their time on the throne, they even beat the Romans. And I was like, the Romans were like all that. And
Hmm.
so I was like, man, that is such a powerful piece of history. And nobody knows that this piece of history even
Yeah.
exists. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to pay homage with my business. So Kendaki means warrior queen.
Wow.
Yeah, it's all
Great
coming
name.
together, ain't it? They're even mentioned in the Bible. Yeah, I found that out later on. But they call them Candace. So it just depends on the literature you're reading and when it was
Okay.
made. So you'll see in history, you'll see sometimes they're called Kentake.
Okay.
You'll see Candace and you'll see Kendaki.
You know what? I got the little goosebumps on my arm as this journey of yours starts to unfold and the different layers, like an onion, start to get peeled back. You chose the name of Warrior Queen, Queen Mother, from the kingdom of Kush. These are great women.
Yeah, and I got a chance to like study a lot about them, but there's not that much information regarding them. And I feel like the information that is available, like I want to do something with that. And that's
Mm,
why I started my business. So when people come to my booth, because I do a lot of vending, I do a lot of fashion shows, I always
mhm.
tell them the legacy of the Kandaki warriors because they are the reason why I exist.
I love it. That struck a chord with me because not only are you empowering women, you're leading and you're sharing the legacy of these great women, really, that have come before you, who have helped you in your journey. I think that's pretty dope.
Absolutely. Like I'm still a woman, I'm still human even though I'm a leader, but sometimes I fall short and I'm like, okay, I'm in the mirror like you can do this, Candy. You can do
Hmm.
this.
Hmm. For
And it's
sure.
just a reminder, like just wearing the joy, it's your reminder that you can do anything that you set your mind to. These
Amen.
women did the unheard of. They beat the Romans. Women went to war and beat the Romans.
Amazing. It reminds me of this conversation, which is just had this morning. And I wasn't supposed to be in this conversation, but I just happened to be where these two women were. And the older woman says, I'm one of 12. And she goes, my mother left me with this piece of information. And as soon as she said that, my ears kind of like perked up. I'm like, oh, I wonder what
Right?
her mother
Yeah, because
told
the
her. I'm
elders
like,
always know the truth.
and she says her mom would tell her, always say to yourself, if there's a challenge that you cannot or you feel that you're not worthy of, say, I am a determined, self disciplined person. And she goes, constantly say this over and over in your mind because your words, going back to what you said in the beginning, your words are powerful. These words shape how we move within the world. And if these women of the kingdom of Cush didn't believe this, where would the world be? So I am a determined, self-disciplined person.
I love that. Like, and I'm also teaching my daughter. My daughter, she's going into her teenage years, and
Mhm.
that's those years where you're just completely overthinking everything.
Yep.
You're learning about so much. There's so many things coming at you at the same time. You have all these changes academically with your body, with your emotions, with your hormones. And I
Hmm.
always teach my daughter to ground herself, and I tell her all the time, your thoughts become your reality.
Amen.
So you
Yep.
have the power to
Hmm.
change your reality with your thoughts.
For
If you
sure.
think negative thoughts, that's what your reality is going to look like. If you think positive thoughts, that's what your
Hmm.
reality is going to look like. But the choice is yours.
That is so true. And
Even with me being your mom,
mhm.
it's still your decision.
Yep. It's her journey. Along the way, there are people that I believe that God places in our paths, whether it's parents, siblings, friends, or you just happen upon a conversation, but it's to make you the best version of yourself. But ultimately, you have to choose that path. Nobody can choose it for you.
Absolutely. Absolutely. You have to make a decision. Either
Hmm.
I'm going to do this or I'm not going to do it. But either way, you're still gonna have to go through you're still gonna have to go through the journey. You're gonna still have to
Yeah.
go through the line of fire. It's up to you how you
Mhm.
want to do that.
Exactly.
Too, like, I feel like it's hard either way. Like, it could be hard and positive, or it could be
Hmm.
hard and just hard.
Right. And I think too, like no experience that we have is of naught. I think it's all there to teach us something about who we are supposed to be. And you can lean into it or you can kind of fight it for a little bit. But ultimately, you have to say, whatever the situation is, there is something that I am supposed to learn from this, whatever that lesson is. And sometimes the lessons come a lot easier because we're more open to this part of our journey, especially
Mhm.
when it's easy. But it's like in those moments where things get a little difficult, it's hard to lean into those moments because we can't see the end goal. But if we
Right.
just trust there is something bigger, I believe God starts to move little things out of the way.
And something else I noticed when I'm on my journey and there's like a hard obstacle that's it's coming.
Mm,
When I think negatively, it's almost like I'm building more blocks on top of it.
yeah.
And it's like I'm making it so hard to get there. Like, it's gonna take me years to get there. But when I started
Mm,
trusting that God did not lead me here,
hmm.
I'm supposed to elevate, I'm supposed to move forward. It's a way easier process trying to get past that hurdle.
Oh, I like that. And this is a part of the interview that I'm going to go back and re listen to because that was such a gem. I thank you for sharing that.
Yeah, like I just I it's easier to talk about the experience once you got through it, but when you're like
Yeah.
at the beginning of it, like none of it makes sense. You know what I've done throughout my entire journey is I always had faith in God. I was like, God, this is
Mm,
not it for me. I know
hmm.
that you did bring me this far just drop me here and just leave me
Yeah.
here. There's something
Yeah.
that I'm supposed to do here. It's not going to be easy. I don't know any leaders that have had it easy. It's like,
Amen.
how do you lead if you haven't achieved any obstacles?
Yeah, that's true. It doesn't happen that way. I think everybody who is elevating to the best version of yourself, you have to. You can't help but not go through those moments. To find out who you are at the core of your being, you have to go through those tough times. Like if you were running a race, right? If you
Yeah,
won all the time, you wouldn't push yourself to be
that's
better.
hard. No,
And
no
so
way.
you have to experience those losses, whatever those losses are, to elevate yourself, knowing that I'm in the trenches now. If I continue to push through, there's something bigger and better. But I don't know it, but I'm going to keep fighting.
Absolutely. And then too, like another thing that I started doing once I was starting to get past these hurdles is I was pulling my sisters up, like, hey,
Mhm.
you can do this. I already did it. I did it three
Mm,
times. If I can do it three times, you can do it three times. My first show in New York, I was
okay.
like nervous. It's New York. This is a big
Biggest
deal.
platform, right?
Yeah, this is a huge deal.
Yeah.
And she told me nothing is bigger than me. And that really just resonated with me for the rest of my journey.
Mm,
And I'm just grateful that she said that to me because I would have, my fear overwhelmed me. I would have never got to that opportunity. I would have never hosted any of these women empowerment projects, which ultimately it's a lot of work for me, but it's just so amazing to see women come in for the first shoot and how nervous they are and, how
Mhm.
unsure they are. And by the time they leave, they are confident and they have met some sisters along the way.
Yeah, for sure. It's rewarding.
Absolutely. It is so rewarding. And I started doing the launch parties 2 years
Mhm.
ago.
Okay.
And just to see everyone in the room, a lot of these women are friends now.
Oh,
I see
that's
them
so
hanging
good.
out. I see them empowering one another. And it's just like a complete trickle down effect. Like I'm
You
empowering them, they're empowering each
yeah,
other. It's like a big pot
yeah.
of just women empowerment. And I love it.
Sometimes in this world in which we live, you see in social media, you see on the different reality shows where they pit women against each other. And I think women, we are so powerful when we understand that our power is only powerful when we help somebody else along.
Yep.
I think when women step into our power, and I recently have seen this in the different movements that have started, you see when one woman is not afraid any longer and she says, you know what, this person over here, she's not my enemy. This is my sister. This is my friend. I'm going to give her the strength that I have. And only then can we realize like true power of what we hold within ourselves.
I strongly believe in that. I feel like all of the women across the globe are waking up and understanding that we're stronger together. And I
Mm-hmm.
was just at a charity gala a few weeks ago.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the women that was on the podium, she said, if you give some information to a man, he's going to make sure his legacy is okay. If you give some
Mm-hmm.
information to a woman, she's going to pass that information to the village, to the nation, and to the globe. That rings so true because I feel like women were like these seeds and we just make things grow. And
Mm-hmm.
the way we water, it could be a good seed or a bad seed, but it's going to grow.
And with that, could you share a specific story that stands out where your jewelry made a meaningful impact on a woman's life?
So, one of the women that did the project this year, I met her one time, mind you. I didn't even have her do the casting call. I just was so I was just empowered listening to how she overcame so much. And, she was told she has a long term illness. Last year,
Mm.
they told her, there's a good chance you might not make it. Let's, get your affairs together.
Wow.
And she decided, no, I'm not going to do that. I'm going to keep
Mm-hmm.
fighting. And she's here today to tell
Wow.
the story. And she was actually one of my panelists this year for the Women Empowerment Project launch party.
Mm-hmm.
And her story was just so powerful. And just to see her put on the garments and put on the jewelry and just watching her face expression and how
Yeah.
powerful she felt, I was like, okay, we're going in the right direction.
Mm-hmm.
This is profound proof that you are doing God's work because I see how confident she is. And, she was able to inspire other women that are going through the
Wow.
same illness that she has. And I just was like, this is so amazing that I was able to give her a platform so that she
Mm-hmm.
could find other women that are going through the very same situation that she is and empower them too.
I would like to ask you, when you first moved to Minnesota, 2019, this seemed to me, once I read your bio, to be a turning point in your career. Can you tell us about the experiences and opportunities that have opened up for you since you have been in this North Star state?
Everything that I do is God led. I asked God for
Mm.
direction. And I
Mm-hmm.
was in Chicago, things were just it was just too fast paced for my family. We're
Okay.
from Kansas. We used to things being very slow. And
Mm-hmm.
so I prayed and I prayed and I prayed. And a friend of mine called and she said, hey, you should go to Minnesota. And I'm like, go where?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And mind you, I had been praying. So like this
Right.
came completely out of nowhere. And I'm like,
Wow.
you want me to go to Minnesota, God?
Oh,
I don't
wow.
even know anyone in Minnesota.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't know anyone. I had found my cousin, 6 months down the
Okay.
line after we moved. But
Okay.
me and my family, we moved to Minnesota with one suitcase each.
Oh my goodness.
And I remember she told me, she said, there's this program, I know you don't know anyone, but they have this program that'll pay your rent or something, she was saying. And I was like, okay, well, I
Mhm.
guess let me call and see, because this sounds too good to be true.
Right.
And so I
Right.
ended up calling and I ended up having to stay at the Drake for 2 weeks.
Oh wow.
And this is how I knew God was in control. So
Mm.
we moved out of the Drake. We're into our own place.
Mhm.
The Drake burned to a crisp.
What?
The Drake burned to a crisp.
Oh my gosh.
And I just was sitting in my living room silent for 2 hours.
How long after you guys moved out did the Drake Hotel burn?
It burned down the next week.
Oh my gosh.
It burned down the next week, and I was just stunned, like, wow.
Oh,
Okay.
wow.
Mind you, with these programs that help with homeless prevention,
Mhm.
the waiting lists are tremendous. There's a
Right.
lot of people waiting. And
Mhm.
somehow we got to the top of that list in 2
Mm.
weeks.
Wow. Only God could do that.
Absolutely, absolutely, and that's
Mm.
why, I'm just so grateful of the God that I serve, because
Mhm.
there's just the things that I'm able to do, there's just no way I'd be able to do that by myself.
For sure.
But I came here with 1 suitcase, all
Mm.
of the members of my family, their father, and all 4 of my kids, we came with 1 suitcase, and
Mm.
this is a faith jump. And this
Mm.
has been I could have said, "You know what?" I could have got scared. I could have said, "You know what?
Yes.
I don't think I'm gonna do this. I don't even know
Mhm.
anyone there." But I don't operate in fear. I operate in faith.
Right.
And so I came here and it was the best decision ever. I ended up meeting Nancy Corsaw, with
Mhm.
her sole purpose is to help small Black businesses. That's the first
Wow.
person I met.
Unreal.
I was just like, wow. So I had this thing that I was doing with Pieces of Kandakes. I had
Okay.
no idea which direction I should go. How do I
Okay.
establish myself? How do I put myself out there in a state
Mhm.
that no one knows me? Literally
Yeah.
no one.
Right, right, right.
And I started working with Nancy, and it just kind of just blossomed. And I thank her so much, because she gave me the empowerment that I give other people. And it's nice
Mm.
when you're the empowered woman and you get the empowerment back.
For sure. For sure. And it sounds to me too that you have been all along, you've been open to the journey of what God has in store for you. But taking that leap of faith, coming to the unknown, it was like door after door after door after door has been open to you. So,
And these are doors that God has opened, doors that I didn't even think I belonged in the room. you know,
mm,
God has put me there because I have to do his work.
for sure. And with that being said, you have won the Startup Business of the Year by Black Business Enterprise. And that is a remarkable achievement, my friend. And
Thank
how
you.
did this recognition impact your business and your personal journey? Like,
You know what? I feel like for a long time in my journey, I just was, okay, God, I'm working, I'm working, I'm working, I'm
mm-hmm,
working. And I never stopped to smell the roses. I never even noticed that people noticed me.
mm,
Even when when I was at the Black Business Ball, and everybody's sitting down, and we got performances happening and everything, and
mm-hmm,
then it says startup business. And so I hear my
mm,
name, along with the other nominees, and I'm thinking in my head,
mm-hmm,
like, I'm probably not going to win it. I'm just going to clap because I'm used to cheering for people.
yeah,
Even when I'm not winning, I'm still cheering.
yeah, yeah.
And so they
Mm-hmm.
said my name, Trina. My mouth was full of food. I was completely like unprepared, not expecting it at all. Like, I didn't even write an acceptance speech.
No, no.
I didn't even write an acceptance, because I'm never looking for the reward. I know that
Right.
my reward is going to come from God. It doesn't
For
matter.
sure. For sure. For sure.
And I was
So,
just like, oh my God, people see what I'm doing. I've been working so hard.
oh, girl, people notice you. People notice you because you have a special way about you. And there's very few people in this world who get joy out of uplifting other people. And what I find, what I chuckle about and what I find so endearing about your comment and what you just shared in your story is that you were ready to cheer somebody else on because you're sitting there, you're still eating and enjoying your meal, and you were so ready to let somebody else have this moment, not knowing in the next 3 seconds, your life was literally going to change and you were going to be the one recognized. But I just love how you were ready to clap and cheer for somebody else. Like that's who you are. And that's why all of these wonderful things happen for you.
Oh my gosh, you about to make me start crying.
But it's true, my friend. It's true.
I truly appreciate that. Sometimes when you're a leader, you just focus on the next goal and you don't realize there was many goals that you've already surpassed. You didn't celebrate. So
Mm.
that's been the name of the game this year. Celebrate.
I love that. And I want to continue and just shine a light on you because you have shown a light on so many people within your community. You partner with Color Run and you're an advocate for the Black Entrepreneur State Fair. You, to me, are an inspiring example of commitment, not only to family, but also to your community, because you're not just satisfied with your personal journey. You want to bring everybody else along with you that you can. And I think the passions that we have when we're younger, you have tapped into that. And I find it remarkable and joyful to watch you as you move within your circumstances and you just celebrate other people continually. How can we tap into that feeling? How can we tap into that within our beings to be able to be so open and gracious to celebrate other people?
Well, I will say a strong part of it is trusting God with your journey and trusting the path that He's chose for you. And
Mm-hmm.
all you have to do is ask Him where and to send the resources. That has truly kept me grounded this whole time.
Mm-hmm.
Just knowing that. And when I see people that may have passed me or they may be doing the same thing, I still clap
Mm.
because it's their turn. My turn is coming.
Wow.
It is their turn. So I'm going to clap for my sister because I'm proud of her. And I know what it takes to get to where she is because I'm on that same path.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm going to clap for her because she worked hard to get where she is. Or my brother, I'm going to clap for him too, you know.
For sure.
But you have to cheer for people. You have to be there for people. If that's something that you desire, you want people to show up for you, you want people to support you, you have to give the same thing. You have to put that same energy out. And it may not be to that person, but it has to be somewhere. Like, you know, life is a give and take. If you give, then you get to take some, you know?
Right. I just want to marinate on that. You're cultivating this community not only within your own household, but within the world. And it sounds to me, it's be open to celebrating one another in the different seasons that we're in. Because somebody else wins and you celebrate them, you win too, because you get to experience their joy.
One win, we all win.
Yeah. If Pieces of Kandakes jewelry line had a theme song, what would it be and why?
That's a good one. I need a second to think. It's so funny because I just last year I created a Pieces of Kandakes playlist, and
Oh my
it's like,
gosh.
yeah, I'll have to share it with you.
Okay.
But it's a whole playlist of like, girl, you got this. A whole bunch of those songs. Like, this is my song. I'm gonna play this while I'm doing my hair, while I'm going to this thing, or you know, I'm going to my graduation, or maybe it's a day where my cup is dry and I need to pick
Mm,
myself up off the floor. But I had
right.
created an entire playlist. But right now, I feel like where Pieces of Kandakes is,
Mhm.
I think we're in our Janelle Monáe phase. Like we're real.
Oh,
It's given unapologetic right now.
I love it. As you walk into your Janelle Monáe phase, girl, unapologetically you taking no prisoners.
None.
The world definitely is your oyster. I have so enjoyed sharing this space and this table with you today. And I am excited to see what the universe has in store for you, my friend. this moment has brought me a lot of joy. Just to hear the passion, the creativity in which you speak makes me filled with joy. And this journey that you have nurtured since you have been 13 years old, which eventually unfolded into this beautiful brand. Your mission to empower women through jewelry is a testament to the unyielding power of art, adornment, and community empowerment. Your story is beautifully written by the author of all authors and is a testament to the power of passion, dedication, and your desire to make a difference. I hope that those who are listening have found this episode inspiring and enlightening and just a little nudge to continue, no matter the age, to follow your passion, no matter where life has brought you, to follow your dreams. And I just want to thank my friend Rashonda for joining me on today's episode because this was so much fun.
Yes,
So
it
thank
was
you.
a lot of fun.
Thank you. I have two questions for you now that the episode is done, darling. Uh, if you could share a quirky or unexpected fact about your journey in jewelry design that most people don't know.
There's a lot of stuff I have not released. A lot. There's a lot. And
How come?
I feel like my design process,
Mhm.
it has to be very free. A lot of times, like when you're doing fashion shows, you have like this certain like box that you put yourself in. So
Mhm.
I think my design process is a whole year round process. And I just create, and then it starts going together.